Welcome and thank you everyone for joining us tonight for our shiur, weekly shiur on the Parashat with the Perush of the Zera Shimshon. Tonight's shiur, as you all know, is dedicated in the memory of my father, Alav Shalom, Rafael ben Munavar. Thanks for everyone being here tonight. Okay, Parashat Acharei mot Kedoshim. Double Parasha. We're kind of going to deal, the Zera Shimshon quickly is going to deal something in the middle of the both. We're going to talk about tefillah, the importance of tefillah and the how of tefillah, which I think is so essential to know, to not understand. He says as follows. There's a pasuk in Tehillim that we say in Hallel, especially full Hallel. It says, Ahavti kishma Hashem et qoli tahanunai. Right? Those of you that remember on Chagim and stuff that we say full Hallel, that's one of the parts of Hallel that we say. Ahavti kishma Hashem et qoli tahanunai. Which means, Am Yisrael is saying, I love, so Hashem should listen to my tahanunai, to my tefillot, to my supplications. Now he says like this, Kashe. It's a little difficult to understand. As always, he starts something that's kind of mind-boggling. He says, it's kashe. Dehaya lo lomar ta'avti. If you want to say that you desire for Hashem to do something for you, you say it as I desire. But what does the pasuk say? Pasuk says, I love. So Hashem, please listen to my tefillot. It doesn't really go together. It should say, I desire that Hashem should listen to my tefillot. I want Hashem to listen to my tefillot. What does it mean, I love? Vezot hi inyan ahava lekan. Oh, sorry. Dema inyan ahava lekan. What is love in this context? Vezot hi hakusha shirgish Rava. Rava that we were discussing before as well. He says this is a question that Rava also had. What does Rava answer? V'teretz, and he answers, Ematai ani ahuva lefanecha? When am I? Rava says, you know what the explanation to this pasuk is? We're basically saying, when am I? Meaning, Am Yisrael is saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when am I beloved before you? When do I feel loved by you? When you hear my tefillot. When you listen to my tefillot, I feel that you love me. That's what Tehillim means by saying, Ahavti kishma Hashem et kol tahanunai. I love when Hashem listens to my tefillot. Or I love that Hashem listens to my tefillot. What does he really mean? Rabbi says it means that I feel loved when you listen to my tefillot. So he says, so Zera Shimshon feels that if you want to say like Rava said, that I love that Hashem listens to my tefillot, it should have really said, when Rava says, I feel loved, should have really said, Ahavtani. Ahavtani means he loves me, or I feel loved. Not Ahavti. I love. So it doesn't really go well together. Not that he's chas v'shalom saying Rava is wrong, but he's just saying there has to be more to it a little bit. So he answers a few answers that I think are very, very important to understand how tefillot should be. He says, Ve'od haya efshar lomar, it's possible for us to say, Sheratza lirmoz ma shematzinu bichteve harav zichrono levacha. We can say there are things that have been pointed out by the Rav of blessed memory. Whenever the Zera Shimshon says it's pointed out by the Rav, he's pointing out to the Arizal HaKadosh. He says this is something that the Arizal HaKadosh says. And this is so important. Sheyesh lo la'adam kodem tefilato. And we have this in our Sidurim today, by the way. It says a person has to, before he starts his tefillah of the day, before you even start your tefillot of the entire day, what do we have in the beginning of the Sidur? Wonderful. لَقَبَّلْ عَلَىٰ مِتْزْوَةَ وَأَهَفْتَ لِرَعَخَ كَمُوخَ. You have to accept upon yourself the mitzvah of وَأَهَفْتَ لِرَعَخَ كَمُوخَ, to love every Jew like yourself. The Arizal says, if you don't feel this way, you're going to have a problem. Your tefillot, chas v'shalom, are not going to be accepted. That's how important it is. So much so that it's in the beginning of our Sidurim. Like before you go on, if you have any hard feelings about another Jew, forget about it. Don't even start. You're just going to be mumbling stuff. Chas v'shalom, they might not go anywhere. So the Zera Shimshon says, V'lachen amar hakatuv. That's why the pasuk says, now the pasuk makes more sense. It says, Ahafti, I love, meaning what? In my heart, kol bnei adam, I love all of Am Yisrael. Ahafti, I did that. Ahafti. You want me to love? I love. Ahafti. And then we say, Yishma et kol tachanunai. Hashem, I did my part. I love all your kids like myself. Now please listen to my tefillot. He says this pasuk in Tehillim is what Arizal is pointing out. Arizal is saying, if you don't love every Jew, if you don't accept that mitzvah on yourself of loving every Jew like yourself, chas v'shalom, your tefillot might not be accepted. Where does he get that from? Zera Shimshon says he gets that from the pasuk in Tehillim. Ahafti Kishma Hashem et kol tahanunai. What does it mean, I love? So he's saying it means, Hashem, I know you want me to love every Jew. Did it. Been there, done that. I love every Jew. Now, Yishma et kol tahanunai. Please listen to my tefillot. How important it is to really understand it in a literal sense. Many of us say, okay, of course I love every Jew. Of course we have to l'racha kamocha. You have to. But then someone will ask you, how about Jonathan? We'll come up with ways of saying like, Jonathan's not even a Jew. Sarah's not even a Jew. Like if someone does this and that, you call them a Jew? I don't call them a Jew, so they don't count. But that's not, you can't come up with ways of getting out of it. What it means to love every one of Am Yisrael, it means you need to love everybody. Every single day we have to start our tefillot by saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'ahavta l'racha, I accept upon myself that mitzvah. Every night, before we go to bed, we say Kriyat Shema al-Hamita. In Kriyat Shema al-Hamita, there's a special tefillah that we say before we even start the Kriyat Shema. What do we say? Ribono shel olam, master of the universe. Harni mohel v'soleach. I now start by forgiving every single person that has done any wrong to me. And Hashem, don't bring hardship upon them for the things that they've done to me. Please don't do anything to them because I forgive them. It's the importance of understanding that if we're not forgiving chas v'shalom, we can't ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be forgiving. If we're not giving chas v'shalom, we can't expect HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be giving. So know that when we go in front of Borei Olam, the creator of the world, and we want to ask him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me this, give me that, I want a zivug tov, I want parnasa, I want livelihood, I want health, I want this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, there's some things I want. There's some things I would like to have also. One of the first things I'd like to have, I'd like to see you guys get along and love each other no matter what. Look at what's happening around the world today. What's happening in Eretz Yisrael. The riots and the demonstrations and stuff like that. All of the Chachamim are getting up and saying, listen, you have your views, we have our views, other people have their views. But at the end of the day, you better be able to come down and say, you know what? I might be fighting for my views, but I would die for you. That's how a Jew has to be. I might be fighting for my views, but I love you. And we see such Kiddush Hashem happening every day. Go look, it's unbelievable the things that you see. You have people demonstrating, people that call themselves on the left, demonstrating about laws changing or whatnot. and you have people that would call them on the right, religious Jews, Haredi Jews, standing in the middle of the riots with things of water, cookies here, while you're screaming out your beliefs of how you don't want Israel to become religious, which is what I want, or which is what I believe. It's okay. Have some water. You might be thirsty. There's no greater way to show the entire world what Yahdut is all about. I have my views. You have your views. Doesn't mean I hate you. I love you no matter what. I remember one time I saw an interview from Rabbi Yosef Zatzal, right? And in his life, he went through a lot of pressure from many sides. There were a lot of, even in the religious world, that went against Rabbi Ovadia and his beliefs or the system that he wanted. They failed. The system that he wanted is what literally saved Eretz Yisrael in the last elections. It's called the Shas Party, right? When Rabbi Ovadia decided that the Shas Party was important in Israel, right? They said, oh, what is the Rav doing in politics? Rabbanim shouldn't be in politics. He said, no, this is going to be the future. This is how we're going to save Eretz Yisrael. They asked him. They said, people used to go, there were riots behind his window. Imagine, he was sitting and learning, and there were riots outside his home, shouting out disgusting stuff sometimes, right? And they asked him, how do you feel? He said, nothing. Nothing. I sit down, I do my learning. I have no hate for anybody in my heart, ever. Nobody. Let them say what they want to say, but I'm not has v'shalom. I'm mochel them. I have no hatred for anybody. And to prove that, I don't know if I shared this story with you guys or not, but it says one time there was a guy who hadn't had children for over 10 years. Lo aleinu. Hashem give Zera Shimshon to all of Israel. And they had tried everything. And the doctors would say, listen, there's nothing wrong. You're both healthy, you're both capable. They couldn't figure it out. No matter where they went, they couldn't figure out what's happening with them. So one time he was sitting with a friend of his, and they start talking about their past and yeshiva days and he starts saying, and I don't know how, but they remember one time they went to a big event where Rav Ovadia Yosef Zatzal was also invited to speak. I don't know if you guys know, but there was a lot of politics going around in yeshiva systems about, Rav Ovadia is on the good side, not on the whatever. Young people do a lot of stupid things. Okay? Unfortunately. It has nothing to do with Rabbanim, it just sometimes... So when Rav Ovadia Yosef Zatzal came to speak, bunch of these bachurim, bunch of these students, yeshiva students, got up and they started dancing in front of him, right? And they started singing. I don't know what song they were singing, but they started singing really out loud, not to sing for him, but they were trying to stop him from speaking, right? So that he doesn't speak. Every time he would try to speak, they would be like, So Rav Ovadia just waits there and waits there and waits there. He's just waiting patiently. And some of them kind of quiet down. They move away. This guy wouldn't stop. He would get louder and louder. All of a sudden, Rav Ovadia, he was sitting on top, and he opens his eyes, points at him, and he says, "You're in cherem." That's all he says. He just looks up and just walks away like whatever. You know what cherem means? Means like excommunication. So this friend remembers this and he tells him, listen, could it be that because of what Rav Ovadia said those many years back, you're having this problem? You know what cherem in the past, in the past, cherem meant a guy, no families can marry into their family until, they do something about the mistake that they've made. Cherem means they can't do business with them. Cherem means maybe you've been put under cherem by Shamayim. And you're not being allowed to have children because Rav Ovadia put a cherem on you. He says, nah, come on. You really think come on, really? He says, dude, you got nothing else. He says, what should I do? He says, I think you should go to Rav Ovadia. At that time, Rav Ovadia was alive. You should go to Rav Ovadia and ask for an apology and have him forgive you. He says, are you kidding me? How am I going to go see one of the, it was great. At this time, it was known as the greatest, sage of the generation. He goes, He goes, I know someone that could probably get you in. You want me to get you in a meeting? He says, oh, fine. Pull some strings and he says, tomorrow he'll meet you at so-and-so time. So comes tomorrow, this poor guy goes in front of Ovadia, before he can even start talking, bursts out in tears. He couldn't even get the words out. So Ovadia sits there calming him down. He says, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. So he says to him, do you remember this many years ago, there was a time when I was there, Ovadia says, yeah, I remember. Yeah, so he says, you remember there was a boy that wouldn't stop and you said that he's in cherem? He says, I remember something, yeah. She says, that's him. And he says that for 10 years they've been trying to have children and they couldn't. And he's come to ask the Rav for mechila because he wants to have children. So the Rav says, no problem. He says, take off your shoes, sit on the floor. He takes off his shoes, sits on the floor. Rabbi Ovadia, I don't know, takes his belt off or his own belt off, and he starts like hitting it on his back lightly, like to kind of mimic what they used to do with lashes in the Beit HaMikdash. And he starts saying, doing the forgiveness that they do on Erev Yom Kippur, right? And he says to him, you've been forgiven, stand up, you're fine, Mezrat Hashem. And he gives him a blessing. He says you should have Rabbi Nachat from your wife, you should have children, don't worry anymore. He had 10 children. He was Zocheh to father 10 children. You understand this? That is the Koach of forgiveness. It's not to say that Rav Ovadia all those years hadn't forgiven. If it was up to his forgiveness, he would have said, of course, I'm mochel you. No. He realized that because of what this guy had done for the Kavod of Torah, for the honor of Torah, it didn't work out so well for him. So he said, here's what I'll do for you. I'll do this kapara that is from the time of the temple so that this will go away too. No hard feelings. If we want our tefillot to be accepted, we have to be like Rav Ovadia. We have to be able to let go. We have to really be able to let go because Hashem will listen to us. So that's number one. It's a long number one. Okay, we'll skip that 1 second. We're just going to skip a little bit. It says further. By the way, this is Drush Hey, the 5th Drush of the Zera Shimshon. About time I said where we are. Okay. There's another explanation. The Amru Zichronim Rebachad that Chachamim have taught us. Hamitpalel al Chavero. Another lesson coming up. Chachamim have taught us that a person that davens for their friend, for another Jew, but he himself needs the same exact thing that his friend needs. So basically, you need a shidduch, you need to get married, you need parnasa, whatever it is, you need it. You need it badly. But you know a friend of yours that also needs it as bad as you do. Instead of praying for yourself, instead of davening for yourself every day, saying, Hashem, please give me this, Hashem, please be mazakeh me to get married. Instead of doing that, daven for that other person. Only say their name. Hu na'aneh techila. Zera Shimshon says, when you daven for that person, you're going to receive what you daven for that person first. That's why it says, and this is why it says, Ahavti et chaveri kamoni. I loved my fellow Jew like myself, because just like I love to pray for myself, instead I took the opportunity to pray for my chaver. Veitpalalti alav mema shetzarich afli. I daven for that person for what I need too. Uvazeh yishma Hashem et qoli. And because of that, Hashem has listened to my voice. Because when Hashem sees that I am hurt for another person, and not just for myself, even though I didn't even pray for myself, I didn't even say, Hashem, please give it to me as well. ועוד ישמע תחנוני. היינו מה שמתפללתי לצורך חברי. He will listen to my tahanunim because I prayed for somebody else. I've tried this and I've seen results like you have no idea. I'm going to make the story short. Some of you already know it. But make a story very, very short. When I was single and I wanted to get married, I made a deal with a friend of mine that he only davens for me, and I only daven for him. Okay? I got married within 6 months. He got married 3 months after I got married. It's like that. When you really do it from the bottom of your heart and you say, you know what, this guy really needs it. Hashem, please help that person. Furthermore, you could say, when I love every Jew like myself, therefore, it's as if all of my tefillot have a plural sense to it. Because when I love every Jew like myself, I am making myself part of a group. So when I'm davening, I'm not davening in a singular, I'm a part of a very large group. I'm constantly praying in a large group because I'm praying for everyone, having everyone in mind because I love everyone. And then Hashem for sure will listen to my tefillot. Why? We always say, pray with a minyan. Why do we say pray with a minyan? Because when you pray with other people, your tefillot get accepted better. They go straight up. So Zera Shimshon says, when you really feel the love for all of Am Yisrael, even if you're praying alone, you're praying with a group, a very large group. And your tefillot are accepted just like you're davening in a group. That is an incredible, incredible thing to say. Right? It's basically saying, even though you're not davening with a minyan, your tefillah will be accepted as if you are praying with a minyan. Why? Because you put yourself out as a part of a group. Hashem, accept my tefillot for all of Am Yisrael because I'm a part of them. Right? One second. I think just want to share one anecdote with you. And then he goes on to say, to kind of connect this to it, he says, even when a person feels very lonely and very alone, even in a place that a person has to be alone, it's very interesting when because the next part of it, he brings down that when a person, chas v'shalom, is in a place of a plague, there is a plague, chas v'shalom, going around, or a pandemic. This is what he says. He says there's a pandemic and everyone is told to go hide and be alone in seclusion. What do we call that? Quarantine. 300 years ago. It says there's a pandemic and you have to quarantine. You can't be with other people. And you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how am I supposed to daven? How am I supposed to pray? I can't find the minyan. How will you save me? How will I get out of this? It's incredible that he's saying this stuff. He says when you include yourself with your passion for everybody else, your worry for everyone else, and you including your tefillot, every other Jew, Hashem will save you even quicker. In those times, you are included as a nation. When you're worrying about the entire nation. You guys remember when we went through the pandemic? You know, mamash, you couldn't daven with a minyan. You couldn't go out of the house. All we did was sit around on our phones and go on the news. What's happening in Israel? What are they doing in Israel? They're doing tefillot in balconies. They're doing tefillot here. They're trying to do this. You know what I mean? But one thing that all of us were doing, there's one thing that we could all attest to that we were all doing, whether we were religious, non-religious, secular. What were we all doing? We were praying. We were praying for all of us. We were praying for everyone. And that's how we can include ourselves and have our tefillot be answered. And that's the next part that he brings down. He says, when a person feels lonely, don't feel alone. When you accept the mitzvah of ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha, you become a part of a much bigger nation. And you're not alone. And through that energy, you daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you will see the Yeshuot that you will receive. Only because you're telling Hashem, Hashem, I am not alone. Why am I not alone? Because I love every single Jew like myself. They say of Rav Moshe Feinstein, just to see what it means to love another Jew. What does it mean to love another Jew? Okay? They say one time a lady came, she was a widow. She comes to Rav Moshe Feinstein to tell her about her sorrows and things that were going on in her life, and she starts to cry. And she doesn't even start talking. And the assistants see that Rav Moshe Feinstein is sobbing. She's crying, the Gadol Ador is crying, like tears. After she leaves, they go, Kfud Arav, what did she say that you started crying? He says, nothing, she couldn't even talk. So they go, so if we may ask, so why were you crying? Listen to his answer. He says, you see a Jewish woman crying and you don't cry? How do you not cry when you see a Jewish woman cry? You don't become a Gadol Ador just like that. You don't become a Rav Moshe Feinstein just like that because you learn a lot of Torah. No. You become a Rav Moshe Feinstein. You become a Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom because you really feel Am Yisrael's pain. Because you love every single Jew. The Torah says, Rabbi Frand one time said, the Torah says, Ve'ish Moshe haya gadol. And Moshe became big. And he says, when does the Pasuk say that he became big? It's right when he says he came out of the palace and he started helping the Jews, picking up and doing labor. He became great, not because he was Moshe Rabbeinu or destined to get the Torah. He became great because he felt the pain of Am Yisrael. Because he felt the love for Am Yisrael. That brings us greatness because you become a part of something much bigger than you. It's not you anymore. You become a unit that's much greater than anything else. In that we should be zocheh, that all our tefillot should be answered in the zechut of the Zera Shimshon, and we should be zocheh to really, really every day, mamash, to make it a thing, to make sure whether we're women and we don't do the full tefillah, we don't have the chiyuv to do the full tefillah, or men that we have the chiyuv to do tefillah, full tefillah. Even if we don't say it in the pasuk, just think it in our heads before we even start. Harei ani megabel alai et mitzvat deoraita shel ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. Behold, I accept upon myself the mitzvah deoraita of loving every Jew like myself, and really feel it. Meaning, after your tefillah is done and you go to work and you see your coworker that you don't really give a 2 cents about, you could give them a smile. Say, you know what, I don't care how much they cheated me, I don't care how much they did this to me, I don't care how much, I love them. Why do I love them? Because I'm supposed to. It's okay. It's okay. Because they're a part of me. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.